On a historic day for the United States with the inauguration of Donald Trump. Let's take you live to Washington, D.C., where in the coming hours Donald Trump will be sworn into office as the 47th President of the United States, with J.D. Vance taking the oath of office as his Vice President. Well, Mr. Trump has already reaffirmed his commitment to carry out the largest deportation program in American history, and that he's going to enact a series of executive orders within hours of taking office. Ahead of his inauguration, during a wide-ranging speech at a rally in Washington, he told supporters the United States was about to begin a new era of prosperity whilst restoring patriotism and law and order. Our North America correspondent Nomi Iqbal reports.
God bless the USA.
Donald Trump is back where he wants to be, reclaiming power.
At noon, the curtain closes on 4 long years of American decline, and we begin a brand new day of American strength and prosperity, dignity and pride.
His bombastic style remains a crowd pleaser.
I think someone like Trump comes around once in a lifetime. I mean, when you look at the man who everything was thrown at him, not only about the impeachment 1 and 2 and all the lawfare, and he's still standing. So that says a lot about a man.
I think with the 2016 election, when he got elected through 2020, he did a good job, was faced with a very hard challenge with COVID. How does anyone deal with that, having never experienced it before? But I think he did the best that he could.
About time to get some real leadership back in this country. Stop bending over backwards for everybody else. Let's bend over backwards for Americans.
Thousands of Donald Trump supporters are here to celebrate his return to power. This is a happy crowd, unlike 4 years ago. A mob loyal to Trump broke into the US Capitol in support of his false claims the 2020 election was stolen. He's promised to pardon those convicted. Other big promises include carrying out mass deportations and ending global wars. The weather has forced Donald Trump's inauguration inside the Capitol, the first time in 25 years. He won't get the crowds he loves to see, so he plans to hold another rally.
And we are going to make America great again.
This year marks 10 years since Donald Trump first announced his run for the White House. And his return underlines what once seemed impossible. Trump has dominated American politics and will continue to for the next 4 years. Nomi Iqbal, BBC News, Washington.
Let's speak to Dr. Leslie Vinjamuri, who's the director of the US and America's programme at the Chatham House Policy Institute. Leslie, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us here on BBC News. What do you think Donald Trump's re-election means for the world generally? I don't just mean economically, but more diplomatically.
Well, we're going to have a, very vocal, very determined, quite powerful at home. That matters for foreign, American presidents have inordinate power when it comes to foreign policy. But when you've also got Congress behind you, that makes your power even stronger. He's won the popular vote. So I think for the rest of the world, they're going to see a president who has a very specific view of America, of its interests, a determination to play pretty tough with the rest of the world to really address the big problems of war and peace in Ukraine, in the Middle East. Potentially to take a very tough stand on China. That's what we've anticipated. And yet, clearly President Trump has a certain kind of affection for talking with strong leaders. He's already spoken with President Xi. We've seen what looks like a form of reversal on the TikTok ban, still to be negotiated, of course. But, it is a moment of transition which really puts the U.S. into a very clear box of saying to the rest of the world that there will be demands. It will be a very tough ask that, America's interests have always come first for U.S. presidents. But I think the way of asking for that, communicating that, and trying to achieve that is going to be one that is, laced with demands, and lacking to a degree in the kind of diplomacy that perhaps people might desire.
He has talked, of course, about introducing tariffs. How might other countries react to that if he does it?
Yeah, well, there has been an ongoing flurry of debate about what to do, whether to retaliate or whether to charm. I think most countries, the first on the list, Canada, Mexico, and China. Canada and Mexico are America's two most important trade partners. So it's tariffs against friends and partners, not just against adversaries, which is the really tricky part of Donald Trump's economic agenda. And the response that we are, likely to see, certainly from Canada, is one of, targeted retaliation, where Canada hits back hard with its own tariffs, and they're looking to target parts of America where Republicans are in charge, so that Donald Trump's, friends across the United States suffer. And the theory is that they'll put pressure on the president to roll back some of those tariffs. But what we know, I think what people are debating is what are the conditions that come with those tariffs? Are they just there to change the trade balance between the United States and the recipient, or are they there to get more? If it's just about changing the trade balance, I think many in Europe are thinking about what can they buy from America? Can they buy more gas? Can they buy more arms? Or is there a broader demand? And we have seen it said, and I think it's likely to be true, that the U.S. president is also going to use those tariffs when it comes to Europe to say you've got to spend on the security side. It's going to be linked across that domain from economics into security. It's going to come right to the heart of the question of what happens in the support for Ukraine, what happens in the broader picture for Europe's security, for spending in order to contribute to the broader agenda of NATO. That linkage politics is really very central, and I think Europeans are aware of that. They've certainly been planning and thinking for it, but we all know that there are very significant domestic constraints across Europe, certainly here in the UK, on spending more. We've got, elections ahead in Germany, so that the domestic constraints are serious, but people have been preparing.
Dr. Leslie Vinjamuri from Chatham House, good to talk to you. Thank you very much.